2117. That's how many confirmed kills Sarah McKenna had as a Green Beret sniper before she traded her rifle for a tractor, becoming a single mother running a quiet family farm in Fox Hollow, Montana. When the Shadow Raiders motorcycle gang rolled into town, they saw what everyone else saw. Just another struggling farmer to break another piece of land to claim they should have counted the fence post. She repaired with military precision. Noticed how her eyes constantly scanned the horizon. Even while baking pies for the county fair, their mistake wasn't threatening her farm. Their mistake wasn't even threatening her children. Their mistake was giving a former Special Forces operative who eliminated high-value targets across 3 continents a reason to pick up her rifle again in Fox Hollow. Some battles aren't won by those with the most force, but by those who've spent 20 years learning how to hunt predators who never see the shot coming before we jump back in. Tell us where you're tuning in from, and, if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. Dawn broke over River Creek Farm as Sarah McKenna checked the fence line along her eastern property. Her calloused hands moved with practiced efficiency, testing each post with the same precision she once used to maintain her weapons. The morning dew had barely settled on the wheat fields stretching toward Eagle Mountain, but she'd already been up for hours. Mom Lily's voice carried across the field. Her 14-year-old daughter ran toward her, dark hair flying behind her. Mrs. Wilson just called, said there were bikers at the diner last night asking questions about our place. Sarah's expression remained neutral, but her eyes automatically scanned the tree line. What kind of questions about who owns it? About back taxes? Lily caught her breath. She said they weren't regular. Riders had these patches looked organized. 8-year-old old Danny appeared from behind the barn, their Australian shepherd. Scout at his heels. Mom. Scout's been acting weird since sunrise, like when those coyotes were stalking the sheep. Sarah knelt to scratch behind Scout's ears, noting the dog's unusual alertness. Go help your sister with morning chores, buddy. I need to run into town. Wilson's Feed and Supply. Sat at Fox Hollow's main intersection, a weathered wooden building that had served the community for 3 generations. James Peterson looked up as Sarah entered, his worried expression, confirming her suspicions. Heard you had some visitors last night, James? 4 of them. He lowered his voice, though the store was empty. Shadow Raiders. MC. They're moving north from Idaho, taking over small towns, local businesses, farms, especially ones struggling with bank payments. Sarah maintained her casual stance, but her mind was already calculating angles, sightlines, potential threats. Anyone when else they visited Thompson Place last week. Old man refused to sell next day. His barn burned down, electrical problem, according to the fire. Marshall, the bell above the door, chimed. Martha Wilson, her elderly neighbor, hurried in with unusual urgency. Sarah, thank goodness you need to see this. They followed Martha outside. A black motorcycle cruised past its rider, making no effort to hide his surveillance. The Shadow Raider's patch on his leather cut caught the morning sun. That's the 3rd pass this morning. Martha whispered they're watching deer like they did before the Thompson fire. Sarah squeezed Martha's hand reassuringly. Don't worry about me. Just keep an eye on the kids, if they're ever in town alone, of course. Dear though I suspect you can handle yourself better than you let on. Martha's knowing look made Sarah wonder, not for the first time, how much the observant, older woman has figured out back at the farm. Sarah found Lily and Danny finishing their chores. Her daughter's tense posture showed she'd spotted the motorcycle. To Mom, are we in trouble because of the bank payments? Sarah pulled both children close. No one's taking this farm. It's been in our family for 3 generations, and it'll stay that way. But those men Danny started, Some people think being scary gives them power. Sarah interrupted gently. But real strength comes from protecting what matters, not threatening others. She sent them inside, then walked the property's perimeter. Her trained eyes spotted 3 more surveillance positions, where bikers had watched the farm. Their boot prints showed military-style tactical positioning. These weren't just random thugs in the barn. Sarah moved the false wall she'd installed behind old hay bales. The hidden compartment contained everything she'd hoped to never use again. Her modified M486 sniper rifle tactical gear and enough ammunition to hold off a small army. She'd built this cache the day she bought the farm, praying her past would never catch up with her. The sound of approaching motorcycles carried across the valley. Sarah quickly sealed the compartment and emerged from the barn. 4 bikes rumbled past her property. Their riders, watching openly. Now she recognized their patches from James's description: Shadow Raiders MC, the most notorious outlaw gang in 3 states. The lead rider, a tall man with a scarred face and shadow stitched on his cut, slowed to a stop. His cold smile carried clear threat. "Nice place you got here, Lady Shame. Has something happened to it?" Sarah met his gaze calmly. Her stance relaxed but balanced. Private property, best move along, just being neighborly. His grin widened. "Times are hard for small farms. Banks get impatient. Accidents happen. But we look after our friends, provide protection for a reasonable fee." "Not interested." Shadow's expression hardened. Everyone's interested. Eventually asked Thompson how refusing worked out for him. They roared away in a cloud of dust. But Sarah knew this was just the beginning. She watched them disappear around the bend, her mind already formulating plans. The Shadow Raiders thought they'd found an easy target, a struggling single mother they could intimidate and destroy. They had no idea they'd just threatened someone who'd spent 20 years learning how to eliminate threats. Exactly like them, Sarah had left that life behind for her children, built something peaceful. But if the Shadow Raiders forced her hand, they'd learn why some predators are better at hiding in plain sight than others inside the house. Sarah found Danny watching through the window. Are the bad men coming back? She hugged him close, remembering all the reasons she'd chosen this quietly. Life. Don't worry about them, sweetheart. Mom's got everything under control. But as evening fell over River Creek Farm, more motorcycles passed on the distant road. Sarah counted 6 different riders conducting surveillance, their patterns, suggesting professional training. The Shadow Raiders weren't just random outlaws. They were organized, experienced, and used to getting their way. Sarah put her children to bed, then sat on the porch cleaning her shotgun, the legal one she kept for coyotes, not the sniper rifle hidden in the barn tomorrow. She'd drive into town, talk to Sheriff Thompson, try handling this through proper channels. But as she watched more bikes pass in the growing darkness, she knew peaceful solutions were becoming less likely. The Shadow Raiders were about to learn that some threats shouldn't be judged by their appearance. Some battles aren't won by those with the most force, but by those who've spent decades learning patience, precision, and the art of making predators become prey. Sheriff Robert Thompson's office smelled of coffee and gun oil, its walls lined with fading wanted posters and community service awards. The old lawman listened as Sarah detailed the Shadow Raiders' visits, his weathered face growing darker with each detail. Same pattern as Cedar Ridge and Millbrook, he said. Finally, they move in slow, target vulnerable properties. By the time people realize what's happening, they own half the town. "I'm not selling," Sarah stated firmly, "but I'd rather handle this legally." First Thompson sighed. "I'll increase patrols, but I'm short-staffed, and these guys, they're smart. Never leave enough evidence for charges." The Fox Hollow Diner breakfast crowd fell silent as 3 Shadow Raiders' motorcycles pulled up outside. Sarah watched through the window as Shadow himself dismounted, followed by his Lieutenant Storm and Blade. They'd chosen their moment. Well, she'd just dropped Danny at school. Well, look who it is. Shadow slid into the booth across from her, thought about our offer, still not interested. Sarah sipped her coffee calmly. $5,000 a month. Keeps your farm. Safe Storm. Leaned against the booth. Cheap compared to rebuilding after a fire is threatening women and children. How you usually start your morning. Tom Cooper's voice carried across the diner. The local mechanic moved with the distinctive gait of someone who'd seen combat, and his prosthetic leg a souvenir from Afghanistan. "Stay out of this, Blade," growled. Sarah caught the nearly imperceptible shift in Tom's weight. A fighter's preparation. She spoke before things escalated. "We're done here. I have work to do." She stood, but Blade grabbed her arm. What happened next was too fast for most observers to follow. Sarah simply moved, using his own grip against him. Suddenly, Blade was sitting, nursing a wrist that was bent at an uncomfortable angle. "Don't touch me again," she said, quietly, then walked out. Dr. Kate Rogers arrived that afternoon to check on a pregnant mare. The veterinarian worked efficiently, but Sarah noticed her studying the fresh motorcycle tracks near the barn, heard about the diner. Kate said casually, "That move you used looked like military training self-defense class at the community center." Kate's knowing smile suggested she wasn't convinced. Must have been some class. "My brother was force recon. He used similar techniques." Their conversation was interrupted by a scout's warning bark. 2 Shadow Raiders' bikes circled the property, their riders carrying suspicious objects. "Get inside," Sarah instructed Kate, already moving. She reached the fence line just as one rider prepared to throw what looked like a Molotov cocktail. Sarah's warning shot with the legal shotgun struck dirt near their bikes. The riders swerved, dropping their weapons, which shatter harmlessly in the field. "Next one won't miss," she called out. The bikes roared away, but she knew they'd be back. Kate emerged from the barn self-defense class. "Teach you to shoot like that?" "Too lucky shot, right?" Kate packed her medical bag. "You know, my brother runs a veteran support group in town. If you ever want to talk about self-defense classes." That evening, Sarah found Lily practicing with her softball bat behind the barn. Her daughter's swings carried focused anger. "Those men at the diner," Lily said without stopping. "They're not going to leave us alone." "Are they?" "No, honey. But we're not leaving either." "I'm not scared." Lily hit another ball. "I saw how you handled that guy, like it was nothing." Sarah watched her daughter's determined practice. Sometimes the strongest people aren't the ones making threats. They're the ones protecting what matters. "Is that what you did before we moved here?" Before Sarah could answer. Scout's bark warned of approaching vehicles. Multiple motorcycles stopped at their gate. Shadow himself dismounting, with Storm and Wolf flanking him. Last chance. Shadow called out $10,000 a month. Now. Price goes up every time we have to ask. Again, Sarah positioned herself between the bikers and Lily. "You're trespassing. Leave. You're making this harder than it needs to be. Shadow-scarred, face-twisted accidents happen to kids, too. Roads aren't safe these days." Sarah's voice carried deadly quiet, threatening. "My children is the last mistake you'll ever make." Something in her tone made Wolf step back. Even Shadow's confidence wavered briefly. "Think it over," he said. Finally, "Tomorrow's deadline. After that, we stop being nice." As the bikes roared away, Sarah heard Tom Cooper's truck approaching. The veteran mechanic pulled up his expression. Grim saw them heading this way. Thought you might want some company. Thanks, Tom. But I can handle. Them, no doubt about that. He studied her stance. You know, the way you move, the way you handle yourself, reminds me of some operators I served with special forces types. Sarah met his knowing look. Just a farmer protecting her land, right? Tom nodded slowly. Well, this farmer might want to know that Shadow's crew is moving in heavy tonight. 30 bikes at least coming up from their compound. Word is they're done negotiating. Scout's bark caught their attention. More motorcycles passed on the distant road. Their riders conducting surveillance with military precision. The Shadow Raiders were done playing games. Sarah watched them disappear into the gathering dusk. She tried handling this legally tried, protecting her cover, but as she counted the increasing number of bikes circling her property like vultures, she knew tomorrow would bring hard choices. Some battles can't be won through peaceful means. Sometimes protecting what you love means becoming what you left behind. The Shadow Raiders thought numbers and intimidation. Guaranteed victory telling and preparing this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us now. Back to the story. Sarah woke to Scout's low growl. An hour before dawn. The dog's ears were focused on the eastern approach, where the first hint of morning painted the sky in dark blues she'd been expecting. This the Shadow Raiders always attacked at first light. Lily. She called softly, finding her daughter already dressed. Take Danny to Martha's. Use the creek path like we practiced. I can help fight you. Help by keeping your brother safe. Sarah checked the legal shotgun. Remember what I taught you about watching the tree line, stay low, use cover count. 5 seconds between movements. Lily recited, Mom. Be careful. Danny appeared, backpack ready, Scout at his side. The boy's eyes were scared, but determined. The bad men are coming, aren't they? Sarah hugged them both. Everything's gonna be fine. Martha's expecting you. Scout guard the dog. Led her children toward the Eothenburg Hidden Creek path. As the first rumble of motorcycles carried across the valley, Sarah counted engines by sound, at least 20 approaching from the main road. Another group from the north, more than expected, quite the army they brought. Tom Cooper's voice came from behind the barn. The veteran mechanic emerged with his own shotgun. Thought you could use backup. You shouldn't be here. Tom. Neither should they. He checked his weapon with practiced deficiency. Besides, some fights matter more than others. The first wave of Shadow Raiders roared through her front gate, led by Storm and Wolf. Sarah noted their tactical approach, standard military flanking pattern. These weren't just thugs on bikes. Last chance, Lady Storm's voice carried across the pre-dawn darkness sign over the farm, or we burn it all. Sarah's response was a warning shot that kicked up dirt near their front tires. The bikes scattered their riders, taking covered positions with practiced coordination. They're ex-military. Tom observed moving in fire teams. I noticed Sarah was already moving to higher ground, remembering countless similar operations from her past life. Watch the barn's blind spot. More bikes arrived, surrounding the farmhouse shadow. Himself appeared directing his men with hand signals Sarah recognized from combat training. Burn it. He ordered burn it all. Molotov cocktails arced through the early light. Sarah's shots struck 2 in midair, while Tom's blast caught another. But one got through, setting the edge of the wheat field ablaze. Fire team moving on. You're 3. Tom called out. Sarah pivoted, catching 3 raiders trying to flank her position. Her shotgun's pump. Action dropped 2, while the third scrambled for cover. Every shot was carefully placed, disabling without killing. You've done this before, Tom commented between reloads. So have they. Sarah spotted more tactical movements in her peripheral vision. They're pushing us toward the house blade, led the next assault team, their approach showing clear military training. But Sarah had spent years teaching soldiers like them. She used their own tactics against them, drawing them into prepared fields of fire. Ladies got skills, Will shouted to Shadow. "This ain't no normal farmer, shut up and push forward." Shadow commanded. "We've got numbers, but numbers meant nothing against experience." Sarah's counterattacks forced them to waste ammunition to bunch up in predictable patterns. Tom provided perfect covering fire. His own combat experience evident the sound of sirens carried from town. Sheriff Thompson's deputies were finally responding, but Sarah knew they'd never arrive in time running low. Tom reported his shotgun running dry, Martha's root cellar. Sarah directed, "Go through the creek path and leave you here." Not happening. A new sound. Cut through the gunfire, Martha Wilson's ancient truck roaring up the back road, the old woman handling it like a rally driver. She skidded to a stop behind the barn. "Need a ride?" Martha called out cheerfully, brought something that might help too. She pulled out Sarah's gun case, the hidden one from the barn. Sarah's eyes widened, found it while cleaning. "Last spring," Martha explained, "figured you had your reasons. Thought today might be the day Sarah retrieved her sniper rifle. The familiar weight settling into her hands, time to stop playing." Defense. Tom. "Get Martha clear." She checked her scope with practiced precision. "Things are about to get complicated. Who are you?" Tom asked, real awe in his voice. "Just a farmer protecting her land." Sarah moved to higher ground. Decades of training. Taking over through her scope, she picked out Shadow's position, coordinating his men with military hand signals, time to change the game. Her first shot disabled Shadow's bike, the precise round striking the engine block. The second shot took Storm's radio, cutting their communications. Each pull of the trigger demonstrated years of expert training. Special Forces, Wolf's panicked voice carried across the farm. "She's Special Forces." Sarah's voice cut through the chaos, cold and professional. "You have 30 seconds to clear my property. Anyone still here after that becomes a target, your choice." The Shadow Raiders broke formation, scrambling for their bikes. Even Shadow recognized the shift in power, mounting his disabled motorcycle and pushing it manually. "This isn't over," he shouted. But fear had replaced his usual confidence. Actually, Sarah settled her scope on his position. It is her final shot struck the ground at his feet with sniper precision. A clear message about what she could have hit instead, as the Raiders retreated in chaos. Martha and Tom returned. The old woman looked completely unruffled by the morning's excitement. "Well," Martha smiled, "that was more interesting than B-Bingo K-In." Tom studied the precision shots Sarah had placed. The tactical positioning she'd used Green Beret that's classified. But Sarah's slight smile confirmed his guess. Mom Lily and Danny emerged from the creek path, Scout bounding ahead to check on her. Sarah hugged her children close, breathing in their safety. But she knew this wasn't over. The Shadow Raiders would be back with greater numbers and better preparation. "You should have told me," Tom said quietly, "about your background. I could have helped sooner. Wasn't your fight. It is now." He gestured toward town where more trucks were arriving, locals coming to help, drawn by the sound of battle. "Something tells me we're all in this together." Sarah watched the smoke clear from her wheat field, calculating what would come next. The Shadow Raiders had just learned she was more than a simple farmer, but they hadn't seen anything yet. Sometimes the most dangerous predators are the ones hiding in plain sight, and Sarah McKenna had spent 20 years becoming very, very good at remaining invisible. until the perfect moment to strike, the Fox Hollow diner buzzed with barely contained excitement as Sarah assessed the damage reports. 3 local farms hit in the last hour, all families who'd come to help defend her property. The Shadow Raiders were sending a message. Stand together. Fall together. Thompson Place got it worst. James Peterson reported grimly, barns gone, equipment destroyed, but Bill's still standing with us. They're changing tactics. Tom Cooper observed his military experience showing these weren't intimidation hits. This was strategic targeting. Sarah studied the map spread across their table, marking attack patterns. The raiders weren't just being vengeful, they were isolating key properties, cutting supply lines between allied farms. Mom Lily approached with Danny scouts acting weird again, but different this time. Sarah checked her watch. They're watching us, planning their next move. Dr. Kate Rogers slipped into the booth, laying down a thick folder. You need to see this hospital records from 3 counties. Shadow Raiders aren't just taking farms, they're building something bigger. The documents revealed a pattern. Property seized through intimidation became distribution points. Local businesses turned into money laundering operations. The Raiders weren't just a gang. They were an organized criminal enterprise with military precision. Shadow was special forces, too. Kate added quietly. Different branch, different war. But he knows what he's doing. Martha Wilson arrived with fresh coffee, her calm demeanor unchanged by the morning's violence. Sarah, dear, perhaps it's time to tell them everything about what you did before farming. The diner fell silent. Sarah met each person's eyes, measuring trust against necessity. Green Berets, she said finally. 20 years, most of it classified. I was a sniper. One of their best. We know Sheriff Thompson's voice carried from the door. Known since you bought the farm. Your background check was interesting. Why didn't you say anything? Same reason you didn't. Some skills are best kept hidden until needed. He laid his badge on the table. County commissioners ordered me to shut this down. Says we're provoking the raiders they're bought. Tom concluded. Whole state's compromised, but I'm not retiring quietly. Thompson smiled grimly. Time to choose sides. Sarah's phone buzzed a message from an unknown number. She recognized the tactical coordinates. Shadow was calling a meet. He wants to talk, she announced. Neutral ground. Just him and me. It's a trap. Tom warned, of course it is. Sarah stood. That's why I need you all to understand what comes next. She detailed her plan, drawing on decades of special operations experience. Each listener had a role, veterans like Tom providing tactical support, Martha coordinating civilian resources, Kate monitoring medical needs. They think hitting our farms makes us vulnerable. Sarah concluded time to show them how wrong they are. The meeting point was Eagle Peak Overlook, providing clear views of the valley below. Sarah arrived early, identifying sniper positions where Shadow's men were waited. Impressive setup. Shadow emerged from the shadows, 3 kill teams overlapping fields of fire. Almost perfect 4th team on the ridge gives it away. Sarah replied calmly. Sloppy positioning. Shadow's scarred face showed genuine respect. Green Berets should have recognized the training. We're not so different. You and I protect people. You prey on them. Big difference. I offer order structure. These towns are dying anyway. We give them purpose by destroying families, burning homes, by reminding them that strength is all that matters. Shadow moved with deadly grace. Join us. Your skills, your experience, we could own the whole state, not interested. Then watch it burn every farm that helped you, every business that supported you, all of it. Gone. His smile turned cruel. How many children live in Fox Hollow? Accidents happen in small towns. Sarah's voice carried deadly quiet, threatening children is a line you don't want to cross too late already. Gave the order by sunset, Fox. Hollow learns what defiance costs. Sarah was moving before he finished speaking. Her first strike caught him off guard. Special forces against special forces, decades of training. Unleashed Shadow recovered quickly, his own combat experience showing they fought with lethal precision, each recognizing the others. Professional skill! Your snipers can't get an angle, Sarah said, between strikes. Ridge teams positioned wrong, amateur mistake. Shadow's confidence wavered. How did? Because I chose those positions. Sarah's counterattack drove him back. Your men have been in my crosshairs for 10 minutes. They just don't know it yet. On cue, Tom's veterans emerged from hidden positions surrounding Shadows, teams with practiced efficiency. Martha's truck appeared more. Townspeople arriving, armed and ready. See, that's the difference between us. Sarah explained. You think strength comes from fear. I know it comes from community. Shadow's radio crackled his planned attacks on Fox. Hollow had met unexpected resistance. Kate's medical network had spread the warning. Thompson's deputies chose loyalty over corruption. This isn't over. Shadow spat blood, actually. It is. You just don't know it yet. Sarah's stance shifted subtly. Now we do this my way because Sarah McKenna hadn't spent 20 years in Special Forces without learning the most important lesson. Sometimes the deadliest weapon isn't the one you carry. It's the community standing behind you, ready to fight, as one sunset painted Fox Hollow's main street in blood-red hues. As Sarah counted, approaching motorcycles by sound, the Shadow Raiders weren't just launching an attack. This was a full-scale invasion, 36 bikes at least, with more coming. They're splitting into teams. Tom reported through their makeshift radio network military formation. Just like you predicted, Shadows using standard Special Forces protocols. Sarah responded, recognizing the pattern. He's not trying to hide his training anymore from her position at the school. Lily's voice crackled over the radio. Mom got the younger kids in the basement. Danny spotted 2 raiders trying to check the back entrance. Good work. Honey, remember what I taught you about multiple exit routes? Keep them quiet. Watch the sight lines. Lily's voice carried her mother's calm authority. I've got this, Mom. Dr. Kate Rogers arrived at Sarah's position. Medical bag ready. Hospital records weren't the whole story. Shadow Marcus Rivers. He was more than Special Forces Black Ops wet work specialist. This is personal for him. How personal? Remember that classified operation in Kandahar, the one that officially never happened? Kate's expression was grim. He was there on the other side. The revelation hit Sarah hard. Kandahar. The mission that earned her the highest kill count in Green Beret history. She'd eliminated an entire enemy special operations team, except for their leader, who was never found. Mom Danny's urgent whisper came through the radio. They're not just attacking. They're looking for something. The men at the school. They're checking specific rooms. Sarah's tactical mind processed this new information. They think we have evidence, documents. We do. Martha Wilson appeared like a ghost, carrying a thick folder, been collecting paper trails since they first arrived, bank records, property transfers, political payoffs, everything you been investigating. Them. Martha's smile carried decades of hidden experience. Dear, I wasn't just a secretary during Vietnam. Intelligence operations never really leave you. The first explosion rocked Wilson's feed store. Shadow Raiders charged through the smoke expecting to find panicked civilians. Instead, they met organized resistance. Tom's veterans had prepared defensive positions, turning the Raiders' own tactical approach against them. East team pinned down. Storm's voice carried across town. These people know our plays because I taught them. Sarah's voice cut through their radio frequency. "Remember Kandahar, Shadow? The team you lost?" Silence fell across all channels. Then Shadow's cold. "Laugh, McKenna should have known you always were the best at hunting. Your own kind. Last chance, leave Fox Hollow, never return. Can't do that. This isn't just about territory anymore. These towns, these people, they're part of something bigger, something you can't stop." Sarah spotted his position through her scope, commanding his forces. From the water tower. Perfect tactical elevation, exactly where she'd have chosen. "You're right. About one thing," she replied. "This is bigger than territory. These people aren't just defending property. They're defending home across town." Her preparations proved their worth. Raiders charging the school met. Lily's carefully organized evacuation routes, empty hallways, and false trails leading to prepared ambush points. Their attempts to flank through back streets encountered Danny's early warning system of lookouts and signals. They're adapting. Tom warned switching to secondary protocols let them. Sarah was already moving years of combat experience flowing through her movements. Kate Medical Team, Ready Trauma Center, set up in the church basement, Martha's coordinating civilian support. Shadow's voice crackled through. "Again, you've trained them well. McKenna making fighters out of farmers, but you've brought them into a war they can't win. That's where you're wrong." Sarah's counterattack began. Coordinated movements, taking down Shadow's teams with surgical precision. I didn't make them fighters. I showed them they already were the Raiders. Military. Precision began to crack their tactical advantages. Meant nothing against an entire town using their own strategies against them. Every alley became a potential ambush. Every building a defensive position, fall back. Storm-ordered pattern, Omega-3, Omega-3. Sarah's laugh carried real amusement amateur. Tom Spring the Trap. The Raiders' escape routes suddenly became kill zones. Years of special operations experience translated into small-town defense. Sarah's training multiplied through every citizen who stood their ground. Mom, Lily's voice carried, "Triumph, they're running." But Sarah knew better. Shadow was too experienced for a simple retreat. This was repositioning preparation for something bigger. "Danny, what do you see?" Her son's observation skills proved invaluable again. "They're not all leaving. Some are hiding equipment. Big cases, like the ones in our barn." Sarah's blood ran. Cold weapon cases. Military grade. Shadow wasn't retreating. He was preparing for a siege. "You've got 1 hour. McKenna Shadow's voice confirmed her fears. "Surrender the evidence, clear the town, or I show everyone what a real special operations team can do." The sun finally set over Fox Hollow, but the real darkness was yet to come. Sarah gathered her impromptu command team, Tom, Kate, Martha, and Sheriff Thompson. The time for simple defense was over. Shadows. Right about one thing she told them, this is war. But he forgot the most important lesson from our kind of operations. "What's that?" Tom asked. "The deadliest predators aren't the ones making threats." Sarah checked her weapon with practiced efficiency. They're the ones who've already chosen their killing ground. Because Sarah McKenna hadn't spent 20 years in special forces just learning how to fight, she'd learned how to turn entire environments into weapons. Shadow thought he was preparing for a siege. He didn't realize he was walking into a trap. 2 decades. In the making, night fell over Fox Hollow as Sarah transformed the town into a fortress. Every farmer's intimate knowledge of their land became a tactical advantage. Every local's understanding of back roads and hidden paths turned into strategic value. They've got military grade. Equipment staged here, here, and here. Tom indicated positions on their makeshift command map. Shadow's not planning a gang attack. This is a full tactical assault. That's exactly what he wants us to think. Sarah studied the map with decades of combat experience. He's using standard Special Forces deception protocols. The real threat will come from an unexpected direction. Dr. Kate Rogers burst into their command center at the diner, clutching newly discovered documents, found something in the hospital records. Shadow's team. They're not just here for territory, they're building infrastructure for something bigger. What kind of infrastructure? Military supply routes, hidden, caches, training facilities disguised as abandoned properties. Kate spread out the evidence. They've been setting up a shadow network across 3 states. Martha Wilson nodded knowingly. Just like Nicaragua. In 3, create a parallel support structure using civilian cover. Everyone stared at the elderly woman who simply smiled. Oh, you'd be amazed what a secretary learned during the Cold War. Dear Sarah's radio crackled. Mom. Lily's voice was steady despite the tension. Danny spotted something weird. The raiders aren't just placing weapons, they're setting up relay stations, communications, gear. Smart girl. Tom commented, they're building a command and control network. No, Sarah's tactical mind saw the bigger picture they're revealing, their existing one. Danny, what else do you see? Her son's observation? Skills? Proved invaluable. Again. The equipment's not new. Mom, it's dusty, used like it's been here a while. He's right. Martha confirmed. I've been tracking unusual signal patterns for months. We're not just facing an invasion. We're exposing an operation that's been here all along. Shadow's voice cut through their radios, precise and cold. Finally figuring it out. McKenna Kandahar wasn't just a mission. It was a rehearsal for proving that people like us, special operations, wet work specialists, were the only ones strong enough to maintain order. These towns, these civilian sheep, they need warriors to guide them. Sarah watched more raiders taking positions around town. Their movements showed extensive military training, but also something else. Absolute conviction in their cause. You're wrong about one thing, she responded. These aren't sheep, and I'm about to prove it on her signal. Fox Hollow revealed its own transformation. Farmers who'd spent decades learning every inch of their land became expert. Guerrilla. Fighters. Local hunters demonstrated their own deadly skills. Even the high school shop class contributed their knowledge of machinery turned to tactical advantage, first wave incoming. Tom's warning carried across their network shadows. Forces launched their initial assault. With military precision expecting to find amateur resistance instead, they found a town-turned weapon. Sarah had spent months preparing for this teaching, civilians to become defenders. Every street became a potential ambush, every familiar building a strategic strong point. They're not fighting like civilians. Storm's frustrated voice carried over, intercepted communications. These are professional tactics, because they're not just fighting for property, Sarah replied coldly. They're fighting for home. Something you forgot how to understand. The first wave of raiders fell back in disarray, their military precision useless against intimate local knowledge. But Sarah knew this was just the beginning. Kandahar taught me something important. Shadow's voice carried real emotion. Now that women like you playing soldier would always choose the soft approach. Always try to minimize casualties. You learned the wrong lesson. Sarah's response was accompanied by precision shots that disabled key raider positions. I don't minimize casualties because I'm soft. I do it because I know exactly how many ways I can hurt you without killing. Danny's voice came through, urgent but controlled. Mom, they're moving something big into position. Long cases like the ones in those old war movies. Sarah's blood ran cold. Anti-material rifles. Heavy weapons. That's right. Shadow confirmed. No more playing nice. You've got 1 hour to surrender the town, or I demonstrate what real special operations violence looks like. But Sarah had planned for this too. Her months of preparation hadn't just been about defense. She'd been setting up her own operation, turning Fox Hollow into exactly the kind of trap that would snare overconfident professional soldiers. Tom, get the veterans in position. Martha, activate your intelligence network. Kate, medical team's on standby. Sarah checked her weapon with practiced efficiency. Lily, Danny, you know what to do, just like you taught us. Lily confirmed. Sometimes the best defense is making them think they're the predators. Danny finished when they're really the prey because Sarah McKenna hadn't spent 20 years in Special Forces just learning to fight. She'd learned how to turn overconfidence into vulnerability, how to make professional training become a weakness. Shadow thought his military experience guaranteed victory. He was about to learn why the most dangerous predators are the ones who know how to play prey until exactly the right moment to strike. The first heavy rounds tore through Fox Hollow's morning silence with devastating precision. Shadow's anti-material rifles targeted key positions, demonstrating his team's professional training. But Sarah had anticipated this, had prepared her people for exactly this kind of assault. Western team, commanded through their network. Let them think those shots are effective. East side taking heavy fire. Tom reported his veterans maintaining discipline under the barrage. They're using military-grade targeting systems. Good. Sarah's voice carried cold satisfaction. That means they're relying on technology instead of instinct. Danny, what do you see? Her son's voice came through clear and focused. They're watching their scopes, not their surroundings, just like you said. They would raiders, advancing on the school, Lily reported. But something's wrong. Their formation's too obvious. Sarah smiled slightly. Shadow was good, but he'd forgotten the first rule of special operations. Sometimes the obvious approach is too obvious. Mom, Danny's urgent whisper cut through. There's someone in the old mill been there since before the shooting started. Martha's voice confirmed. My sources saw vehicles moving there last night. Heavy equipment, the mills, not a tactical position. Tom argued no clear lines of fire. Unless this isn't about firing lines. Dr. Kate Rogers broke in. Sarah found something in the old town records. That mill, it used to be a military storage facility during the Cold War, underground bunkers, tunnel systems. Sarah's tactical mind connected the pieces. Shadow is not just attacking the town. He's after something specific, something hidden here. Very good. McKenna Shadow's voice carried real respect. Still the best at seeing the bigger picture. Did you really think I chose this town randomly? The heavy weapons fire intensified, but Sarah noted its pattern. Not random destruction, carefully coordinated suppression. Fire keeping towns, people away from specific areas. The mills, the real target. She confirmed everything else is distraction, just like Kandahar. Shadow's laugh carried old bitterness. You saw through my versions there, too. Cost me my entire team. That was different. That was war. This is war. A different kind fought in shadows. Most people never see these towns, these innocent civilians. They're sitting on a network we built decades ago, hidden supplies, secret routes, emergency caches, perfect infrastructure for operators like us. Sarah watched raiders moving through town with military precision, not just attacking, searching, securing, following a carefully planned protocol. He's right, Martha confirmed. During the Cold War, we built fallback positions across the country, supply lines, communication networks. Most were never activated, and now you want them for your private army. Sarah concluded, for bringing order to a weak society. Shadow's voice hardened these people playing at normal life. They sleep safely because of warriors like us, time. They remembered that a massive explosion rocked the north side of town. Sarah recognized the signature-shaped charges, professional demolition, underground access point, exposed. Tom reported they're heading below ground, Mom. Lily's voice carried unexpected insight. Remember what you taught me about hunting, how sometimes you let them think they're reaching their target, because that's when they're most vulnerable. Danny finished too focused on the prize to see the trap. Sarah smiled with fierce pride. Her children had learned well. All units execute pattern Delta, she commanded, just like we practiced. Fox Hollow's defenders moved with coordinated precision. Not the rigid military efficiency Shadow expected, but something more fluid, more adaptable. Local knowledge combined with Sarah's training created a hybrid style that professional soldiers couldn't predict there in the tunnels. Tom confirmed, moving fast, standard tactical spread. Perfect. Sarah checked her weapon. Decades of special operations experience flowing through her movements underground. All their training works against them. No room to maneuver. No way to spot ambush positions. You've been planning this from the start. Shadow realized everything above ground. It's all been pushing us exactly where you wanted us. You forgot the most important lesson from our kind of operations, Sarah replied coldly. Sometimes the deadliest trap isn't the one you can see. Because Sarah McKenna hadn't spent 20 years in special forces just learning tactics, she'd learned how to think like her enemies, how to turn their strengths into weaknesses. Shadow thought he was achieving his objective. He was actually walking into a killing ground, 2 decades in the making. All units prepare for underground warfare. Sarah commanded, "Remember your training. Remember what we're fighting for. Family." Lily responded, "Community." Tom added home. Danny concluded. Shadow's forces had the training, the equipment, the professional skill, but they were about to learn that some battles aren't won by the most technically proficient fighters. They're won by those who know exactly what they're protecting and exactly how far they'll go. To protect it, darkness enveloped the Cold War tunnels beneath Fox Hollow as Sarah moved with practiced silence. The underground complex was exactly what she'd anticipated, a maze of reinforced corridors designed for military operations, perfect for defenders who knew its layout, deadly for overconfident attackers. They've split into 3 teams. Tom's whispered report came through their secure channels, moving in standard search patterns. "Let them hunt," Sarah replied. Softly, "Down here." Their night vision works. Against them, too focused on what's directly ahead. Mom Danny's voice carried urgency from his observation post above. "They're carrying something weird like big metal briefcases." Martha's response was immediate: nuclear credentials, Cold War authentication codes. Every facility like this had them accessing old records now. Dr. Kate added, "Shadow Marcus Rivers. His father was the original site commander. That's his connection to Fox Hollow." Sarah processed this revelation while tracking raider movements through the town. Las Scapados. He's not just after the infrastructure, he's after command protocols, exactly. Shadow's voice cut through their communications. "Did you think I chose this town by accident, McKenna? My father built this network, created a system for real warriors to maintain control. Your father was relieved of command." Martha countered, "Discharged for unstable behavior and extremist views. He was a visionary." Shadow's composure cracked slightly. He understood that civilians need to be controlled, not coddled. These access codes, these hidden facilities, they're our heritage, our right. Sarah signaled Tom's veterans into flanking positions. The Raiders were good moving with professional precision through the darkness, but their military training made them predictable. "You really think people need warriors to control them?" Sarah's voice echoed, deliberately drawing attention. "Look what they did when you attacked farmers became fighters, shopkeepers became tacticians, playing soldier." Shadow sneered they'll break when they see real combat. Like your team, broken Kahar. The taunt hit home. Raiders shifted positions, discipline wavering at the reminder of Shadow's greatest failure. Mom Lily reported from above they're moving something big into the main entrance. Looks like breaching charges. Good. Sarah smiled slightly. They're getting desperate underground. The battle transformed into a deadly game of cat and mouse. But Sarah had spent months preparing these tunnels, turning them into a trap for exactly this kind of military. Operation Contact Front, Storm's voice carried. Panic. "They're not where they're supposed to be because we're not fighting by your rule book," Sarah replied coldly. Her first shots disabled key raiders with surgical precision, non-lethal but devastating to morale. Backup power. Failing, Danny reported, just like you planned. Mom, the Raiders' night vision equipment suddenly became a liability. The rapid light change disorienting trained operators, Sarah's defenders, prepared for this moment, struck with devastating efficiency. "This is impossible." Shadow's voice carried real fear. "Now these are civilian volunteers against special operations forces." "No," Sarah countered, eliminating another team with textbook accuracy. "These are people defending their home against men who forgot the difference between strength and cruelty." Dr. Kate's voice cut through with urgency. Sarah found more records. Shadow's father, he didn't just get discharged. He tried to activate these facilities during peacetime, planned to use them for some kind of military coup, like father like son. Martha commented, using the same infrastructure for the same purpose. Underground, the Raiders' professional formation began to crack their military. Precision meant nothing against defenders who'd memorized every corner, every shadow, every quirk of the tunnel system fall back to pattern. Echo Shadow commanded, but his operators were already scattered, their training useless in this environment. They're retreating toward the main chamber, Tom reported, with grim satisfaction right where we want them. Sarah moved with lethal grace through the darkness. Decades of special operations experience flowing through every movement. Shadow had trained his men well, but he'd made one critical mistake. "You forgot the most important lesson from our kind of operations," she broadcast coldly. "Sometimes the deadliest predator isn't the one with the most tactical training, it's the one fighting for something that matters," Lily added. "From above. The one who knows exactly what they're protecting." Danny concluded, because Sarah McKenna hadn't spent 20 years in special forces just learning combat tactics. She'd learned that true strength comes not from controlling others, but from giving them the tools to defend themselves. Thunder rippled through Fox Hollow's underground tunnels. As Shadow those forces made their final push, the main chamber, once a Cold War command center, had become their last stronghold. But Sarah had been counting on exactly this. They're cornered. Tom reported his veterans maintaining a careful perimeter. But cornered operators are the most dangerous kind, especially these ones. Sarah replied, noting their movements through her thermal scope. They're not just retreating, they're getting something ready. Mom. Danny. Voice carried controlled urgency. They brought something up from the lower levels. Big metal containers, old military markings. Martha's sharp intake of breath was audible. Chemical weapons. The facility stored them during the crisis. They were supposed to be decommissioned, but my father knew better. Shadow's voice carried triumph. Now knew someday real warriors would need them, 30 years in storage, still perfectly viable. Dr. Kate's analysis came through rapidly. VX nerve agent military grade 1 container could take out half the county. Sarah watched raiders, moving with practiced efficiency, preparing the weapons for deployment. Shadow had trained them well too well. You think threatening civilians makes you strong. Sarah kept them talking, buying time. That's not being a warrior, that's being a coward. I'm being practical. Shadow's laugh carried old bitterness my father understood. Kandahar proved it. Civilians need to be controlled, not coddled. Fear is the only language they truly understand. You're wrong about one thing. Sarah's voice turned cold. These aren't just civilians anymore on her signal. Fox Hollow's defenders revealed their final positions. Months of preparation, weeks of training, all leading to this moment. Every tunnel access, every ventilation shaft, every possible escape route covered by people who'd learned to be warriors in their own way. Impossible. Storm's voice shook. These are just farmers' shopkeepers. No, Sarah corrected. These are people defending their home, and you just threaten their children. Shadow's composure cracked slightly. You think having numbers matters? My men are trained operators. We have chemical weapons. One, cascade lease, and look at your men's positions. Sarah interrupted coldly. Really? Look. Danny's observation proved crucial again. Mom? 3 of them just checked their boots, just like you said. They would. Sarah smiled grimly, because real operators know when you're pinned down. First, check your exit route. They just realized they're standing in 6 in of water. The raiders. Professional calm wavered as they understood their situation. The flooding wasn't from battle damage, it was deliberate. One spark, Sarah continued, one electrical charge in that water, your entire team goes down before they could release anything non-lethal, but very, very effective. You're bluffing, Shadow snarled. You'd never risk chemical weapons discharge. Check your air sensors. Dr. Kate cut in. The ventilation system's been modified. Any release gets contained and neutralized. We've had months to prepare for this. Lily's voice carried fierce pride. While you were playing soldier, we were actually protecting people. Sarah watched Shadow's team realize their position. The best special operations training in the world meant nothing when you were outmaneuvered by an entire community working together. Last chance, Sarah offered surrender. The weapons end this without casualties. Never. Shadow's voice hardened. You've forgotten what we are, McKenna. We're not peacekeepers, we're warriors, killers. No, Sarah countered. We're protectors, you forgot that. And that's why you'll lose the next moments dissolved into chaos. Shadow's team moved with desperate precision, but Sarah had prepared for this too. The water, the angles, the confined space. Everything worked against professional military training. Mom Danny reported calmly. They're dropping their weapons all except Shadow, because Shadow had made one final crucial mistake. He'd trained his men to be perfect soldiers, but he'd forgotten to give them something worth dying for. It's over, Sarah announced, her voice carrying through the tunnels. Your men understand. Even if you don't, real strength isn't about controlling people through fear. It's about teaching them to protect themselves, Lily added, and giving them something worth protecting. Danny concluded. Shadow stood alone, now his perfect military operation in ruins. But Sarah recognized the look in his eyes, a cornered operator with nothing left to lose. You think this ends here? He raised a detonator. I've got enough charges placed. to bring down the whole tunnel system, bury everything, including the chemical weapons. How many people up there know you helped create this nightmare? How many know what we really did in Kahar? Because Sarah McKenna hadn't spent 20 years in special forces just learning combat tactics. She'd learned that sometimes the hardest battles aren't won through superior firepower or better training. They're won by remembering exactly what you're fighting for. Sarah faced Shadow. Across the flooded command center, two Special Forces operators who'd taken very different paths from the same starting point between them lay enough chemical weapons to devastate 3 counties, and Shadow's thumb rested steady on the detonator. You want to know what really happened in Kahar? Shadow's voice carried years of bitterness. Why I hate you so much? I know why Sarah kept her rifle train steady. Your team was running unauthorized weapon sales using special operations covered to arm warlords. We were being practical, creating ability through controlled chaos, just like my father tried to do here. Dr. Kate's voice cut through there. Cal's. Sarah found the final records. Shadow's father. He didn't just get discharged, he was building a private army, using these facilities to train military extremists. Like father, like son, Martha added grimly. Both thinking they could control chaos. Shadow's laugh carried genuine pain. You don't understand. My father was creating order, a system where real warriors could maintain control. Then they drove him mad. Destroyed everything he built, he destroyed himself. Sarah countered. Just like you're doing now. Mom. Danny's voice came through quietly, his hands shaking, just like you said happens when someone's about to break. Sarah watched Shadow's deteriorating composure. Years of special operations experience let her read the signs, a tactical expert reaching his psychological limits. Your father wasn't trying to create order, she said carefully. He was trying to build his own private kingdom. Just like you're doing with the Raiders. We're elite operators. Shadow's control cracked further. We're the only ones strong enough to do what's necessary in Kahar. You didn't just kill my team. You destroyed everything we were building. You were building a criminal empire, Sarah replied, coldly using military skills to terrorize civilians, just like you're doing here through her tactical scope. Sarah spotted Tom's veterans taking final positions. One wrong move, and the chemical weapons would become a reality. But if they didn't move, Shadow's desperation would eventually force the same outcome. Mom Lily's voice carried unexpected calm. Remember what you taught me about people who are truly lost. Sometimes the kindest thing is letting them fall. Danny finished because Sarah had taught her children more than just survival skills. She'd taught them about the true cost of violence and the courage sometimes needed to choose a different path. Your father wasn't a visionary. Marcus, Sarah used. Shadow's real name. Deliberately. He was a broken man who couldn't separate strength from cruelty, just like you're doing now. Shut up. Shadow's composure. Finally shattered. You think these people are worth protecting. They're sheep. They need warriors to guide them. Look around. Sarah gestured to the defender. Holding position. These sheep outmaneuvered your entire tactical team. These civilians you despise, they chose to become warriors to protect their home. They're nothing playing it. Being soldiers, no. Sarah's voice carried absolute conviction. There's something you and your father never understood. They're community, family, people who protect each other, not because they're ordered to, but because they choose to. Shadow's thumb tightened on the detonator, then they can die together. But Sarah had been counting on this moment of broken control. Her shot took Shadow's hand with surgical precision, even as Tom's veterans moved with practiced coordination. The detonator fell caught in specialized containment nets they'd prepared. Clear. Dr. Kate confirmed chemical weapons secured. Shadow stared at his bleeding hand. 20 years of hatred and delusion finally cracking. You could have killed me in Kahar here. Why didn't you? Because that's the difference between us. Sarah lowered her rifle slowly. I didn't forget what all that. Training was really for protecting people, not controlling them. Mom's right. Lily's voice carried through their cowls. Real strength isn't about making people fear you, it's about teaching them not to fear at all. Danny added quietly. Sarah watched the fight finally leave Shadow's eyes. 20 years of pursuing his father's twisted vision of trying to turn military excellence into civilian control, all ending in a flooded bunker beneath the town. He tried to terrorize. Your father wasn't evil. Sarah said finally. He was sick. Broke under the pressure of too many missions. Too much death. Just like you've been breaking ever since Kandahar because Sarah McKenna hadn't spent 20 years in Special Forces just learning how to win battles. She'd learned that sometimes the greatest victory isn't defeating your enemy. It's helping them understand why they became an enemy in the first place. It's over, she told Shadow gently. Time to let go of your father's war. Time to remember what we were really trained to be and what's... That Shadow's voice carried exhausted surrender. Protector Sarah replied simply, Not because we're stronger or better trained, but because we understand the true cost of violence and choose to defend others from it. The lights flickered in Fox Hollow's underground tunnels as Sarah's community began the process of securing weapons and prisoners. But something else was secured, too. The understanding that true strength isn't found in controlling others through fear, it's found in teaching them how to be strong themselves. Dawn broke over Fox Hollow as Sarah supervised the secure containment of the chemical weapons. The underground command center buzzed with controlled activity. Tom's veterans processing captured raiders. Dr. Kate coordinating medical treatment. Martha, directing the cataloging of recovered documents, final count. Tom reported 28 raiders in custody, including Shadow. All their military GR equipment secured no civilian casualties. They're not just raiders anymore, Sarah observed, watching several. Captured operators helping secure the weapons. They're men who lost their way and need a path back. Shadow sat quietly in a corner, his wounded hand professionally bandaged, staring at an old photograph of his father. The man's delusions of military control had poisoned 2 generations, turning elite soldiers into criminals. He really believed it. Shadow spoke suddenly, that strength meant controlling people, that fear was the only way to maintain order. And now Sarah asked quietly, Now I understand. What you did in Kandahar, why you chose non-lethal tactics, even when you could have killed us all. He looked up. Decades of hatred. Finally fading, you were trying to save us from ourselves. Dr. Kate approached with fresh medical supplies. Shadows. Men are cooperating. Fully, many of them are veterans struggling with PTSD. They followed him because he offered structure purpose. Then, let's give them better purpose. Sarah decided, Tom, your veteran support group. Think you can handle a few more members already planning. On it, Tom smiled. These men aren't evil, just lost like many of us were after coming home above ground. Lily and Danny coordinated with Martha's impromptu intelligence. Network civilian volunteers had stepped up, transforming from victims into protectors of their community. The remaining raiders topside are surrendering. Lily reported through their cow's words, spread about what happened underground. They're laying down weapons, asking about Tom's support group. Danny's observation skills remain sharp. Some of them look relieved. Mom, like they wanted a way out but didn't know how to find it. Sarah watched more raiders voluntarily surrendering their weapons to town deputies. These men had been trained as elite operators, taught to see civilians as sheep needing control. Now those same civilians had shown them a different kind of strength. Sarah Martha called from the command center's old communications room, found something interesting: records of other facilities like this one. Shadow's father wasn't the only. Commander building private armies, more chemical weapons, Sarah asked grimly. Worse training camps, indoctrination centers, they were creating hidden networks of military extremists, all believing they had the right to control civilian populations. Dr. Kate joined them examining the documents. This explains the raiders' operation. Shadow was trying to rebuild his father's network using motorcycle gangs as cover for military-style takeovers of small towns, but he didn't count on finding a Green Beret who chosen to protect rather than control. Tom added, Sarah studied the maps of other facilities, more towns at risk, more communities needing protection, but now they had something unique, reformed. Raiders willing to help prevent others from following their path. Mom Lily called from upstairs. The townspeople are gathering. They want to know what happens next. Because that was the real challenge, not just stopping Shadow's operation, but helping an entire community process what they'd accomplished. Ordinary people had become defenders. Shopkeepers had learned tactical thinking. Farmers had transformed into warriors. They need guidance. Shadow spoke up unexpectedly. Not control, real guidance, help understanding the strength they've discovered. Sarah studied her former enemy thoughtfully. Are you offering to help? I owe a debt to you, to them. My father tried to build an army to control people through fear. Maybe I can help build something better. Teach them to protect themselves instead. It won't be easy. Sarah warned, these people have seen your worst. Earning trust takes time, like you earned their trust. Shadow asked quietly, by seeing their potential instead of their weakness above ground. Fox Hollow was already changing. Neighbors helped repair. Battle damage together, former raiders worked alongside civilians, beginning the process of redemption through action. Rather than words, we'll need to expand the Veterans Center. Tom planned create rehabilitation programs, job training, help these men find purpose in protecting rather than controlling the hospital. Will help. Dr. Kate added treatment for PTSD counseling. Medical reports show them there's no shame in healing. Martha emerged from the command center with more recovered documents. We'll need to warn other towns, help them prepare in case more of Shadow's father's followers try similar operations. Sarah watched her children moving confidently through the activity, helping coordinate civilians and surrendered raiders alike. They'd learned crucial lessons about strength, about the difference between fear and respect. Mom Danny called out his observation skills, catching something new. Some of the raiders they're showing other towns, people how to spot surveillance, teaching them protective tactics, turning their training toward defense instead of control. Lily added approvingly, because that was the real victory, not just stopping Shadow's operation, but transforming it into something better. Elite military training being used to protect rather than dominate your father. Was wrong about one thing, Sarah told. Shadow real warriors don't create strength through fear, they nurture it through understanding. Shadow nodded slowly, like you did with your children, teaching them to observe, to think tactically, but never losing their humanity. That's what these towns need. Sarah concluded. Not warlords trying to control them. Teachers helping them understand their own strength. The sun rose higher over Fox Hollow as Sarah watched her community begin its transformation. Former enemies working together, civilians and veterans finding common ground. All of them learning that true security comes from cooperation rather than domination. We'll need to be ready. Tom warned other followers of Shadow's father might try similar operations. Then we'll be ready, Sarah replied confidently. Not just with tactical training, but with something more important. What's that? Shadow asked. Understanding that real power isn't about controlling people through fear. It's about teaching them. They don't need to be afraid at all, because Sarah McKenna hadn't spent 20 years in special forces just learning combat tactics. She'd learned that true victory isn't just about defeating your enemies. It's about helping them become something better than they ever thought they could be. Time to rebuild, she announced to the gathered community, not just buildings, but trust show. Everyone that strength doesn't come from fear or control. It comes from standing together, Lily added, and protecting each other. Danny finished Fox Hollow had faced its trial by fire and emerged stronger. Now came the real challenge, not just recovering from violence, but building something better from its aftermath. Shadow watched the activity thoughtfully. My father thought civilians needed warriors to guide them. He never understood that everyone has the potential to become a protector. That's what we'll build here. Sarah declared not just a defended town, but a community of protectors. People who understand that real strength isn't about dominating others. It's about teaching them to stand strong together. Tom concluded the work ahead would be challenging, but Sarah knew her community was ready. They'd learned the most important lesson. Of all, that true security doesn't come from fear or control. It comes from helping others discover their own strength and teaching them to use it wisely, a week after the underground battle. Fox Hollow began its transformation. The sounds of construction replaced gunfire as townspeople and reformed raiders worked side by side, rebuilding. What conflict had damaged, Sarah watched from Wilson's feed store as former enemies carried lumber together, shared tools, and slowly began healing old wounds. It's remarkable, Dr. Kate observed, joining her with fresh coffee. These men who were trying to destroy the town, they're putting real effort into rebuilding it. They're finding better purpose, Sarah replied, using their training to protect instead of threaten. Storm Shadow's former lieutenant demonstrated proper lifting techniques to a group of civilians. His military precision now served construction rather than destruction. Nearby Wolf helped elderly Mrs. Chen and repair her garden, listening intently as she shared stories of her own wartime experiences. Shadows provided locations of 3 more facilities. Tom reported reviewing intelligence reports other commanders from his father's network building similar operations, using different cover private security firms, survivalist camps, same basic plan. Though, Martha added, spreading out recovered documents, find vulnerable communities, insert trained operators, establish control through fear. Fox Hollow was meant to be their first major success. Sarah studied the maps thoughtfully instead. We've given other towns a blueprint for resistance, showing them communities can defend themselves. Mom Danny called from outside the raiders who surrendered. They're teaching people something interesting. Sarah found her son watching as former operators demonstrated surveillance detection, techniques to townspeople, basic security protocols being shared openly, military expertise turned towards civilian defense. They're different now, Lily observed, joining them. Not just pretending to change, really trying to help Shadow himself, worked quietly at the edge of town, helping repair the damage his forces had caused. His injured hand didn't prevent him from contributing, and Sarah noted how other townspeople were slowly beginning to accept his presence. Found more of my father's records, he reported, as Sarah approached training camps in 3 states. Men like him believing they had the right to control civilians through military force. How many? At least a dozen major operators, all ex-military, all building private armies. Shadow's face showed real regret. I thought I was continuing his legacy. Never realized I was just spreading his madness. Dr. Kate's trauma recovery program had begun showing results. Raiders who surrendered attended regular sessions, working through Thrakenfaus, and au laborer psycha mamau dir, barakan fatendures. Amni ever bear PTSD. And disillusionment. That had led them to follow Shadow's twisted vision. They're not just talking about their military experiences. Kate reported they're processing why they chose to use those skills for intimidation instead of protection. Tom's veterans had expanded their support network, integrating former raiders into legitimate security work. Their tactical knowledge proved valuable for training civilian volunteers in proper defensive techniques. It's not just about physical security, Tom explained to a mixed group of townspeople and reformed operators. It's about building trust, showing that military training can serve the community instead of controlling it. Martha's intelligence background proved crucial for preparing other towns. Her network of contacts helped identify communities at risk, warning them of potential threats while sharing Hollow's successful resistance model. The key is preparation. Martha told visiting town representatives not just tactical training, but building community bonds, making civilians and veterans true partners in protection. Sarah found Lily organizing a unique project, former raiders teaching teenagers basic observation skills, while the teens helped the operators better understand civilian perspectives they're learning from each other. Lily explained proudly, the raiders see how normal people think while kids learn useful skills. Without fear, Danny's own observation skills had impressed several reformed operators. They began including him in security sweeps, learning from his ability to spot details they missed through their rigid military training. The boy sees things differently. Storm admitted makes us question our assumptions about civilian capabilities. The town council meeting that evening addressed larger implications of their victory. Representatives from neighboring communities attended, eager to learn from Fox Hollow's experience. We've got requests from 12 towns for training. Sheriff Thompson reported not just in tactical defense, but in community integration. They want to know how we turned enemies into allies. It's about more than just physical security. Sarah addressed the gathered crowd. What we've built here is a model for transformation, showing that strength doesn't come from dominance, but from cooperation. Shadow stood to speak his presence. Still causing some tension, my father believed civilians needed military control to be strong. Fox Hollow proved the opposite, that communities become strongest when warriors choose to protect rather than dominate. The discussion turned to expanding their program. Tom's veterans would coordinate tactical training, while Dr. Kate's trauma team helped other towns establish support systems for reformed operators. We're not just defending against threats. Martha explained we're preventing them by showing a better path, helping lost warriors find purpose and protection instead of control. Sarah watched her children moving confidently through the meeting. Lily coordinated with other towns' youth programs, while Danny shared his observation techniques with visiting security teams. The raiders who surrendered, Danny reported quietly to his mother. They're not just changing themselves, they're actively trying to prevent others from following their old path because they've learned the most important lesson. Sarah replied that true strength isn't about having power over others. It's about helping others find their own power. Lily finished the meeting, concluded with concrete plans for expansion. Fox Hollow would become a training center, teaching other communities how to integrate military expertise with civilian defense needs. We'll need to be careful. Tom warned more of Shadow's father's followers will resist this change, see it as a threat to their control. Let them come, Sarah said, confidently. We've shown that communities united in protection are stronger than any force trying to dominate them because Sarah McKenna hadn't just stopped one threat to her town, she'd helped create something more powerful, a model for transformation that could prevent similar threats everywhere. The real work is just beginning, she told the assembled crowd, not just defending our communities, but teaching others how to defend themselves, not through fear or control, but through understanding and cooperation. Shadow nodded slowly. My father wanted to build an army to control people instead. We'll build communities that don't need controlling. Fox Hollow's example was already spreading, showing other towns that true security doesn't come from submitting to strength. It comes from learning how to be strong together, 2 weeks after establishing their training program. Fox Hollow faced its first major test. Representatives from 6 threatened communities had arrived for defense training when Martha's intelligence network detected incoming threats, 3 different groups converging. Martha reported spreading surveillance photos across the command center table, all ex-military, all following Shadow's father's doctrine. They're not happy about our rehabilitation program. Makes sense. Tom analyzed the tactical data. We're not just defending communities anymore, we're actively undermining their recruitment, showing their operators a better path. Sarah studied the approach. Vectors noting the professional precision. They're not just coming to attack. This is a statement, trying to show other towns that resistance is futile. Mom Danny's voice carried urgency through their new communication system. Their advanced teams are different. Not just bikers or mercenaries. These are full tactical units. Shadow confirmed the observation. Grimly, elite operators, men I trained with, they see Fox Hollow as a direct challenge to their ideology of military control. Dr. Kate arrived with fresh intelligence from her medical network. They're hitting other towns, too, trying to isolate us, prevent our training program from spreading. But they've made one critical mistake. Sarah noted, watching the tactical displays. They think they're attacking a single defended town, when really they're facing a community of defenders. Lily finished coordinating the youth observation teams she established. The first probing attacks came at dawn. Professional operators testing Fox Hollow's defenses, expecting to find amateur resistance. Instead, they encountered integrated defense network civilians and veterans working in perfect coordination. West Team neutralized. Tom reported with satisfaction. Former raiders intercepted them using their own tactics against them. No casualties, south approach, blocked storm. Added now fully committed to defending his new community. They're good, but they don't understand what they're really fighting. Sarah watched more attacking teams encounter Fox Hollow's transformed defense capabilities. Former enemies now worked seamlessly together. Military precision enhanced by civilian creativity, they're adapting. Shadow warned, monitoring enemy communications. Realizing this isn't a normal civilian target, switching to advanced tactical protocols. Good. Sarah smiled slightly. That's exactly what we prepared for around town. Fox Hollow demonstrated the effectiveness of their new integration model. Visiting towns watched in amazement as shopkeepers coordinated complex defensive maneuvers, while reformed raiders provided tactical support to civilian security teams. 3 more attack teams retreating. Danny reported his observation. Network proving invaluable. They're not used to civilians who can spot their movements because they still think, like my father, shadow-analyzed believing. Military training makes them superior, never considering that teaching civilians those skills creates something stronger. Dr. Kate's trauma team stood ready, preparing to help any attackers who chose surrender their success. Rehabilitating raiders had created a proven model for transforming military extremists into community defenders. 2 more operators requesting sanctuary. Kate reported they saw how Storm's team has changed. Want the same opportunity Martha's intelligence network tracked the attacking forces' growing confusion. Elite operators trained to dominate civilians found themselves facing something unprecedented. Communities that could defend themselves professionally, their tactical doctrine is falling apart. Martha noted with satisfaction, they don't have protocols for civilians who understand military strategy because they never considered civilians could be more than targets. Sarah replied, never understood that true strength comes from teaching rather than controlling. Lily's youth teams demonstrated the effectiveness of their new training. Teenagers spotted and reported enemy movements with remarkable accuracy, their natural observation skills enhanced by professional tactical education. The visiting towns are amazed. Lily reported proudly seeing how we've integrated military expertise with civilian defense. They want to start similar programs immediately. The attacking forces' command structure began to crumble as more operators encountered Fox Hollow's transformed defense capabilities. Sarah watched their tactical formations dissolve, professional precision giving way to confusion. They're breaking, Tom confirmed. Not just tactically, their whole ideology is being challenged, seeing military training used to empower civilians instead of control them, just like I had to learn. Shadow added quietly that real strength isn't about dominating others. It's about helping them become strong themselves. The final attack attempt demonstrated the completeness of their victory. Elite operators expecting to overwhelm civilian resistance instead found themselves surrounded by professionally coordinated defense teams. Surrender or retreat. Sarah broadcast on their tactical frequency. You've seen what we've built here. How military expertise can serve communities instead of subjugating them. You're betraying everything we were taught, the enemy. Commander responded bitterly. Military power is meant to control, not cooperate. No, Sarah countered. We're fulfilling our real purpose, protecting people by teaching them to protect themselves. More operators chose surrender, seeing the truth demonstrated in Fox Hollow's transformed community. Dr. Kate's teams began immediate trauma support, while Tom's veterans welcomed new members to their rehabilitation program. 6 more towns requesting our training program. Martha reported as the crisis wound down, words spreading about how we handled this attack. Communities realizing they don't have to submit to military intimidation. Sarah watched the visiting town representatives absorbing the lessons of Fox Hollow's defense. They'd come seeking tactical training. But we're learning something more valuable. How to transform communities from victims into protectors. We'll need to expand our programs. Tom noted. More towns means more reformed operators needing support, more civilians requiring tactical education, and more threats from those resisting this change. Shadow warned other followers of my father's doctrine won't accept their power being undermined. Let them come, Sarah replied confidently. Every attack just proves our model works, shows more communities. They can stand strong against military intimidation because Sarah McKenna hadn't just created a defense program. She'd initiated a transformation in how communities view security, not through submission to strength, but through learning to be strong together. The real victory isn't beating them tactically. she told the gathered defenders. It's showing them a better way, teaching them that true power comes from protection, not control, and that the strongest communities, Lily added, are the ones where everyone learns to be strong while watching out for each other. Danny concluded, Fox Hollow had become more than just a defended town. It was now a beacon of transformation, showing others that security isn't achieved through fear or mention. It's achieved by helping everyone discover their own strength and teaching them to use it wisely together. A red dawn broke over Fox Hollow as surveillance feeds lit up with incoming threats. Elite tactical teams had breached the outer perimeter of 3 trained communities simultaneously, while Fox Hollow itself faced its most dangerous challenge. Yet black vehicles, no markings, Danny reported from his observation post, moving like special forces. But something's different about their formation. Sarah studied the tactical display, noting unfamiliar patterns. These weren't just military extremists. They were something new, something worse. Blackwater veterans, shadow-identified grimly. Private military contractors who worked with my father, men who turned warfare into a business. The first attack came without warning. Precision shots disabled Fox Hollow's power grid, while EMP devices killed their communications professional work, executed with cold deficiency. They're not here to intimidate. Tom assessed deploying his veterans to defensive positions. This is a surgical strike team. They're here to eliminate the source of resistance. East Side breach. Lily's voice crackled through their backup. Radio. They've got something new. Sound weapons. Crowd control. Tech military prototype gear. Sarah moved through pre-planned evacuation routes, coordinating the town's defense. These weren't raiders. They could rehabilitate. These were hardened mercenaries who'd chosen this life with clear minds and cold hearts. They're targeting specific buildings. Dr. Kate reported securing the medical center training facilities, command posts. They've studied our operation because we've become too successful. Martha confirmed. Destroying sensitive documents, other private military companies are losing contracts. Communities are choosing our defense program. Instead, the mercenaries moved with lethal grace, using tactics Sarah had never encountered. Their gear and training represented the cutting edge of military technology, backed by corporate money and political influence. They've got our files, Storm reported urgently. Names of contacts, locations of other trained communities, everything. No, Danny corrected his observation skills, proving crucial again. They think they do. But those are the decoy servers Mom set up last month. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. The mercenaries were professionals, but they were still thinking conventionally, still unable to grasp how completely Fox Hollow had transformed North Team. Entering the kill zone, Lily reported with cold precision. Her youth network had laid careful traps using the mercenary-owned professionalism against them. The first team breached the community center, expecting to find civilian resistance. Instead, they encountered reformed raiders working seamlessly with local defenders' military precision, enhanced by intimate knowledge of the terrain. They adapting, shadow-warned monitoring enemy communication, switching to some kind of enhanced tactical system, neural net coordination. Good. Sarah replied, moving to her prepared position. Let them depend on technology while we rely on something they can't compute: human connection. The mercenary second wave hit harder using sonic weapons and disorientation devices. But Fox Hollow defenders had trained for this, using old-school techniques that didn't rely on modern equipment. West Team neutralized. Tom reported with professional satisfaction, their gear is impressive, but they fight like machines. No creativity, no adaptation. Dr. Kate's analysis proved crucial as the battle developed. These aren't ideologues like the Raiders, they're corporate soldiers following algorithms and profit margins. That's their weakness. The turning point came when the mercenaries breached the town hall. Their tactical software predicted standard defensive responses, calculated optimal attack vectors. It didn't account for teenagers using parkour to outflank their positions, or farmers turning irrigation systems into area denial weapons. They're losing tactical cohesion. Danny observed their formations, breaking down like they don't know how to handle unpredictable responses. Shadow watched his former colleagues struggle against Fox Hollow's integrated defense. They've got better training, better equipment, better everything. But they're fighting alone. Each man focused on his own role while we fight together. Sarah confirmed coordinating another success. UF counterattack, not just as soldiers, but as community. The mercenaries' command structure began to fracture as more of their tactical assumptions failed. Their neural net couldn't process defenders who didn't follow standard combat protocols, who mixed military precision with civilian improvisation. They're calling in gunships. Martha reported tensely private military helicopters coming in fast. But Sarah had prepared for this too. The approach-roaching helicopters found their targeting systems confused by precisely placed reflectors. Their communication scrambled by repurposed farm equipment. Remember what you taught us. Mom Lily's voice carried pride. Sometimes the best defense isn't high technology, it's knowing exactly what you're protecting. Danny finished directing another successful ambush. The mercenaries' final push demonstrated their fatal flaw. Perfect soldiers fighting with perfect precision, unable to adapt when their tactical software encountered human unpredictability. Fox Hollow's defenders didn't just repel them, they systematically dismantled their entire operational doctrine, showed that all the military technology in the world means nothing against people fighting with both skill and heart. Corporate leader calling for extraction storm, reported with satisfaction their whole tactical models failed. Sarah watched. The mercenaries retreat their perfect formation, broken by simple farming tools, and determined civilians. They brought cutting-edge military technology to eliminate resistance. Instead, they'd learned that true strength can't be calculated by computers or bought with corporate money. It comes from something more fundamental, people standing together fighting not for profit but for home. We'll need to warn other communities, Tom noted, as they secured the town. More companies will try this. Approach, let them come, Sarah replied confidently. They can bring all the technology they want. They'll never understand what really makes people strong. Because Sarah McKenna hadn't just created a defense program, she'd shown that the most sophisticated military training means nothing without the human element that corporate soldiers could never understand. In Fox Hollow, that simple truth had just defeated the most expensive private military operation ever attempted against a civilian target, not through superior equipment or training, but through the one thing mercenaries could never calculate: the power of a community fighting together. Fox Hollow's morning calm shattered as emergency sirens blared across town. Bank accounts frozen, power grid. Compromised communications intercepted. The attack wasn't coming from mercenaries or extremists. This time, it was coming through computers and corporate boardrooms. They're hitting every trained community simultaneously. Martha reported monitoring in red channels, freezing assets, shutting down utilities, blocking supply lines. This is economic warfare. Sarah studied the tactical feeds, showing similar patterns across multiple states. Private military companies had realized they couldn't defeat these communities with force. Now they were trying to strangle them financially. Government contracts just got pulled from every business supporting our program. Dr. Kate announced grimly, "Someone's using political pressure to isolate us." Shadow burst in with recovered documents. It's worth it. Remember, those corporate mercenaries who attacked last week, they're owned by Blackbridge Industries, my father's old weapon supplier. Danny's voice cut through their cows. Mom spotted 3 teams doing something weird with the power low. They're not cutting them, they're adding something, network taps. Tom confirmed after checking high-tech surveillance gear. They're gathering intelligence on everyone who's helped us a little gordata. Beware thou vows das markintier sex. Abawa sunny wadi the warrior busting to wear the date, kabwaideo. Copious out, under Micromana obane yabwardu. We do you barkin spied into a fight. MDOUs through backup channels this way didn't out there spreading lies about us online, calling us militant separatists. Domestic threats major media is picking up their story. Sarah watched years of careful work being dismantled by corporate lawyers and media spin. But she'd prepared for this too, just not in ways her enemies expected. Launch Operation Paper Trail. She commanded. Martha smiled grimly and activated a hidden protocol. Sudden Lie encrypted servers across the country began releasing documents, evidence of corporate corruption, illegal weapons sales, political bribes. Blackbridge's stock is crashing. Storm reported with satisfaction their shareholders are panicking. Board members are resigning because they forgot the most basic rule of intelligence. Martha added, always know what secrets your enemies have collected about you. The corporate assault faltered as their own hidden activities became public, but Sarah knew this was just the first wave. More sophisticated attacks would follow. Danny's observation. Networks spotted them first. Private security teams escorting. SEC investigators and federal agents, all carrying warrant folders with familiar corporate logos. They're trying to use the system against us. Dr. Kate analyzed. Turn our own government into their weapon. But Fox Hollow had evolved beyond simple tactical defense. When federal agents arrived expecting to find militant separatists, they instead discovered organized community service programs, veterans counseling centers, youth education initiatives. Their whole narrative falls apart if they actually investigate us. Tom explained to bewildered federal officers that's why they tried destroying the evidence first. Sarah coordinated with other communities, sharing techniques for surviving economic warfare. Local banks provided emergency funding, neighboring towns shared resources. The very connections their enemies tried to destroy became lifelines. They're changing tactics again. Shadow warned, monitoring corporate communications, shifting to psychological operations, using media to turn public opinion against us. But Lily's youth network had already launched their counter-campaign, not with propaganda, but with simple truth live streams, showed reformed raiders working alongside civilians, veterans finding purpose and protection, and instead of violence, communities growing stronger together. Their whole strategy depends on painting us as dangerous militants, Dr. Kate explained. Reality keeps proving them wrong. The corporate mercenaries tried one final attack, vector targeting individual community leaders with personal destruction, manufactured scandals, false criminal charges, character assassination. They're trying to break our trust in each other, Martha observed, make us doubt our own people. But Fox Hollow's response demonstrated how much they devolved. Instead of hiding from accusations, they faced them openly. Shared their mistakes, and growth showed that strength comes from confronting weakness, not denying it. Corporate leaders pulling back Storm reported their whole playbooks failed. They don't know how to fight. People who won't play by their rules. Sarah watched their enemies retreat, leaving behind sophisticated surveillance gear and frozen bank accounts. They'd brought every weapon in the corporate arsenal to destroy these communities. Instead, they'd force them to become something stronger, something that couldn't be defeated by attacking power grids or freezing assets, because Sarah McKenna hadn't just built a defensive network, she'd created connected communities that could survive any attack. Physical, financial, or psychological Fox Hollow began dismantling the corporate surveillance gear, replacing it with their own monitoring systems. Local banks unfroze accounts, power, and communications restored themselves through backup networks, but more importantly, the bonds between communities grew stronger. Corporate attempts to isolate them had instead forced them to support each other in new ways. "They'll try again," Tom warned, as they assessed the damage, find new ways to attack us. "Let them," Sarah replied. "Every attack just shows us what else we need to strengthen." Because the most important lesson wasn't about defending against specific threats. It was about building something that couldn't be destroyed by any single attack. Vector, the corporate mercenaries, had tried to dismantle these communities through sophisticated modern warfare. Instead, they'd forced them to evolve into something even stronger. Fox Hollow and its allied towns had become living proof that true strength doesn't come from high-tech weapons or corporate power. It comes from people standing together, refusing to be divided by fear or greed. The morning sun rose over rebuilt power lines and restored bank accounts. But the real victory wasn't in repairing physical damage. It was in showing that communities united in purpose could withstand any attack, even from the most powerful corporate interests. Sarah watched her people working together, stronger for having faced this new kind of warfare, ready for whatever came next, because they'd learned the most important lesson of all, that true security can't be destroyed by attacking infrastructure. It lives in the connections between people who've chosen to stand together no matter what forces try to tear them apart. The black helicopters appeared over Fox Hollow without warning, moving with impossible stealth. No markings, no identification. Just the distinctive shape of advanced military prototypes that officially didn't exist. Delta Force Shadow identified grimly but not regular operators, Black Ops Division, the ones who to handle problems that can't officially exist. Sarah recognized the tactical signatures. These weren't corporate mercenaries or militant extremists. These were the best of the best, sent by people with unlimited resources and zero accountability. Colonel Marcus Vane. Martha reported pulling up classified files. Former CIA Black Ops commander disappeared 5 years ago after questioning certain top-secret operations. "He didn't disappear," Sarah corrected quietly. "He went private. Started taking contracts that even the CIA wouldn't touch." Danny's voice crackled through their secure channel. "Mom, they're using some kind of active camouflage thermal. Imaging can't track them. The first strike came with surgical precision key. Defenders found themselves targeted by non-lethal rounds containing an unknown chemical agent, professional, efficient, designed to disable without leaving evidence, neural inhibitors. Dr. Kate analyzed quickly. Military prototype shuts down. Combat reflexes makes tactically trained personnel unable to fight. Sarah watched the Black Ops teams approach through specialized optics. Their movement patterns were unlike anything she'd encountered, a perfect blend of military precision and cutting-edge technology. "They're not here to shut us down," Tom realized, studying their formation. "This is a capture operation. They want intel on our entire network. Lily's surveillance caught something crucial. The helicopters they've got. Diplomatic markings under the stealth coding, multiple countries involved because we've become an international problem." Shadow explained, "Our success is inspiring. Similar resistance movements globally. Power structures are getting nervous. The Black Ops team breached Fox Hollow's outer defenses using classified infiltration tech. But Sarah had prepared for this too, in ways that went beyond normal tactical response. Execute Protocol Omega. She commanded across town, hidden systems activated not weapons or defenses, but something more sophisticated, a dead man's switch, releasing encrypted files to key international journalists' insurance policy. Martha explained as alerts lit up worldwide, tried to disappear us and every black project for the last 30 years goes public. Colonel Vane's voice cut through their cowls. Professional and cold, impressive setup, McKenna, but you're interfering with power structures. You don't understand. I understand perfectly, Sarah replied. You're not here because we're a threat. You're here because we're an example, showing people they don't need to submit to control. The Black Ops team's advance faltered as more encrypted files hit the internet documents exposing classified operations, money trails linking intelligence agencies to criminal enterprises, evidence that would topple governments. Stand down. Bain commanded his team's situations compromised. We're burned. But Sarah recognized the tactical shift in their formation. They're not retreating, they're switching to wet work or protocols, complete elimination of targets and evidence. Danny's observation network caught the change first. They're deploying some kind of gas, doesn't show up on normal sensors. It's not gas. Dr. Kate realized in horror. It's engineered bacteria designed to target specific DNA sequences. They're trying to make this look like a natural outbreak. Sarah faced a decision that went beyond normal tactical response. The Black Ops team had to be stopped, but engaging them would risk exposing her own classified background. You can't win. Win, this one, Fane's voice carried cold certainty. We've got authorization from the highest levels. No limits, no restrictions. That's where you're wrong, Sarah replied. You've got authorization from people who need secrets to maintain power. We've got something stronger. The truth hit international media, like a tsunami. Not just leaked files, but live broadcasts showing Black Ops teams attacking American civilians. Diplomatic crises erupted as multiple governments found themselves exposed. They're pulling back, Tom reported with grim satisfaction. Too much exposure. Can't maintain deniability. But Sarah knew this was just the beginning. They'd forced international power structures to reveal themselves. The response would be severe. More teams will come. Shadow warned different agencies, different countries. We've become a global problem. No, Sarah corrected. We become a global solution showing people everywhere that resistance is possible. The black helicopters retreated into the night, leaving behind classified equipment and shattered illusions. Fox Hollow had faced its greatest challenge. Yet the full might of international Black Ops, they'll try to discredit us, Martha warned. Turn public opinion against us, make us look like dangers to society. Let them try, Lily replied confidently. Truth is harder to kill than they realize. Because Sarah McKenna hadn't just built a local defense program, she'd created something that threatened power structures, worldwide proof that communities could resist even the most sophisticated control systems. The morning sun rose over Fox Hollow as cleanup teams secured abandoned Black Ops gear. But the real victory wasn't in defeating one classified team. It was in showing the world that even the most secret government operations could be exposed and defeated by determined communities standing together. And the battle for Fox Hollow had just become a battle for something much larger, the right of people everywhere to resist control, no matter how powerful the forces array against them. Sunrise over Fox Hollow revealed an unusual silence. No traffic on normally busy streets, no signals on any communication frequency. The entire town had gone dark as international intelligence agencies launched their most sophisticated operation. Yet British MI6 teams on the North Perimeter Martha reported Russian FSB to the East Chinese MSS operatives moving through the industrial district. They're all working together. Sarah studied satellite imagery showing similar patterns. Worldwide communities that had adopted their defense program found themselves targeted by coordinated intelligence operations. Senate hearing starts in 1 hour. Tom announced grimly, "They're trying to declare us a terrorist organization, got 3 generals and a CIA director ready to testify. Lily's network intercepted classified diplomatic cables. Mom, they're offering other countries special trade deals, payment for helping shut us down because we've evolved beyond their control." Shadow explained, decoding more. Transmissions. When communities can defend themselves, governments lose. Power Danny's observation teams caught the first infiltration attempt. United Nations peacekeepers at the checkpoints. But their gear's wrong. These are private military contractors in stolen uniforms. The International Task Force moved with unprecedented coordination. Elite operators from a dozen agencies each, bringing their own specialized tactics and technology. They're deploying something new. Dr. Kate warned, analyzing atmospheric readings, sophisticated bioweapons, targeting specific genetic markers. Sarah faced a decision point that went beyond normal tactical response. These weren't just military threats. This was the full force of international power structures trying to maintain control. Got a message from an NSA whistleblower, Martha reported. Urgently. Operation Clean Slate Total Information Warfare. They're erasing our entire digital existence. Bank records disappeared. Social media accounts vanished, official documents changed to paint, community leaders as dangerous extremists, a coordinated attempt to erase not just Fox Hollow's defense program, but proof it ever existed. They're not just attacking us. Tom realized they're trying to erase the very idea that communities can defend themselves. Sarah watched elite operators moving into position with lethal grace. Each team brought tactics she'd never encountered, technology that shouldn't exist. But they'd made one critical miscalculation: execute protocol. Sunset, she commanded, across Fox Hollow. Hidden systems activated not weapons or defenses, but something more powerful. Truth broadcast globally. Live feeds showed international hit teams attacking American civilians. Classified documents exposed decades of government experimentation, evidence that would shatter public trust in official institutions. They're adapting. Shadow warned as elite operators switched tactics, moving to full suppression protocols. No more concern about public opinion. The International Task Force deployed sonic weapons and neural disruptors, cutting-edge technology designed to incapacitate resistance without leaving evidence. But Sarah had prepared for this too. Now she commanded around Fox Hollow. Civilians demonstrated new strength, not through military tactics, but through unshakable unity. Neighbors protecting neighbors' communities, standing together. It's spreading. Lily reported with fierce pride other towns are broadcasting too, showing the world what real resistance looks like. The Senate hearing dissolved into chaos as evidence hit public networks. Generals found their classified programs exposed. Intelligence directors faced questions about illegal operations. They're pulling back, Danny observed, as elite operators retreated. Their whole tactical doctrine depends on secrecy. They can't function in the light. Dr. Kate's medical network exposed. Decades of classified research experiments on civilians, tests of control, technologies, evidence that would destroy public trust in government institutions. More communities are joining the resistance, Martha reported. Not just here, globally. People everywhere, realizing they don't need central control. The International Task Force withdrew as their classified operations faced worldwide exposure. Elite operators trained in secrecy found themselves unable to function under public scrutiny. "This isn't over," Shadow warned as surveillance showed more forces gathering. "They'll try something bigger, something final." "Let them come," Sarah replied calmly. "Every attack just proves our point shows people everywhere that resistance is possible." Because Sarah McKenna hadn't just built a defense program, she created something that threatened power structures worldwide, proof that communities could resist even the most sophisticated control systems. The morning sun rose over Fox Hollow as cleanup teams secured abandoned surveillance gear. But the real victory wasn't in defeating one international operation. It was in showing the world that even the most powerful government agencies could be exposed and defeated by determined communities standing together. The battle for Fox Hollow had become something larger, a fight for the fundamental right of people everywhere to resist control, no matter how powerful the forces arrayed against them. "They'll try to rewrite this," Martha warned as international media broadcast. "The truth change. The narrative make us look like the villains." "Too late," Sarah replied confidently. "Some truths can't be erased once they're exposed." Fox Hollow had faced its greatest challenge, yet the combined might of international intelligence agencies. But in doing so, they'd sparked something far more powerful than any tactical victory they'd shown people everywhere, that resistance wasn't futile, that communities united in purpose could stand against any force trying to control them. The battle for freedom had just gone global, and there would be no turning back. The truth arrived in a simple email forwarded through 5 anonymous servers before reaching Martha's Secure Terminal Financial Records Board meeting minutes. Shareholder reports evidence that changed everything. They thought they knew about their enemies. This goes deeper than military control. Martha explained, spreading documents across the command center table. 12 private military companies, 4 reconstruction firms, 2 disaster response corporations, all owned by the same holding company. Sarah studied the complex web of shell corporations and offshore accounts. They've been manufacturing conflicts, not just here. Shadow confirmed analyzing market data. Global pattern create instability profit from rebuilding my father's ideology was just their cover story. Danny burst in from his observation post. Large stock transfers happening right now. Major shareholders dumping military company stocks, buying into reconstruction firms. Because they're positioning for the next phase. Tom realized they wanted us to fight back. Every defensive success created more opportunities for profit. Dr. Kate arrived with medical insurance records, found their real testing grounds. Small towns worldwide create conflict, sell security solutions, then profit from rebuilding damaged communities. The military extremists were just pawns. Sarah concluded used to create market opportunities for their corporate masters. Lily's network intercepted corporate communications emergency board meeting at Black Bridge Industries. CEO James Whitehall is calling in every favor trying to contain the information leaks. Sarah remembered Whitehall from her Special Forces days. A defense contractor who'd built an empire selling security solutions to the highest bidder. Now she understood why he'd seemed so familiar with military operations. He's not just profiting from conflict. Shadow realized, studying more documents, he's been engineering it using men like my father to create markets for his companies. Market analysts worldwide noticed unusual trading pattern as major investors dumped private military stocks while quietly acquiring shares in reconstruction and security firms, a coordinated move that suggested foreknowledge of coming changes. International media is picking up the story, Martha reported. Financial journalists connecting dots. We exposed corporate empire built on manufactured conflict. Sarah watched global markets react as more evidence emerged. Private military company stocks plummeted, while reconstruction firm shares soared exactly as the hidden consortium had planned. But they made one mistake. Tom pointed out their whole system depends on community staying afraid, keeping them dependent on corporate security. Instead, we've shown people how to protect themselves, Lily added, without paying corporate prices. The consortium's response came through official channels, offers to buy out local security firms, acquire training programs, integrate Fox Hollow's methods into corporate services. They're trying to co-opt us. Dr. Kate warned, turn our success into their next profit center. Wall Street analysts praise the consortium's business acumen, creating problems, selling solutions, then profiting from reconstruction, a perfect cycle of manufactured need and corporate response. Whitehall's yacht just docked in Monaco. Martha reported he's meeting with other board members planning their next move. Sarah studied tactical data, showing corporate response teams worldwide not attacking anymore, repositioning for acquisition and integration, trying to absorb what they couldn't destroy. They're adapting their whole business model. Shadow observed, shifting from conflict creation to community integration, still seeking profit just through different means. The consortium's new strategy emerged through leaked documents. They'd use Fox Hollow's success to sell community-based security solutions, corporate packages promising local empowerment while maintaining profitable control. Clever Tom admitted turn resistance into a commodity sell. People the illusion of independence. Financial markets surged as major investors recognized the consortium's pivot. Conflict creation was profitable, but selling controlled resistance could be even more lucrative. Sarah faced a decision that went beyond on tactical response. The consortium wasn't trying to destroy their movement anymore. They wanted to purchase and package it. Whitehall's offering a deal. Martha announced, reviewing encrypted communications, full autonomy, unlimited funding, turn Fox Hollow into their model community. The offer represented everything they'd fought for: resources, recognition, legitimate power. But it came with golden handcuffs, turning their resistance into another corporate product. Corporate lawyers arrived with contracts promising local control while quietly transferring power to distant boardrooms, a sophisticated attempt to transform genuine independence into managed opposition. Sarah gathered her community for their most important decision, yet not about fighting physical enemies, but resisting a more insidious threat. The commodification of their own resistance. They're trying to buy what they couldn't beat. She explained. Turn our strength into their next market opportunity. The consortium's final offer arrived with all the trappings of corporate legitimacy: board positions, stock options, consulting contracts, everything needed to transform genuine resistance into controlled product. But Sarah McKenna hadn't spent years building real community strength just to sell it to the highest bidder. The hardest battle wouldn't be fought with tactics or weapons. It would be resisting the temptation to trade true independence for corporate comfort. James Whitehall's private jet landed at Fox Hollow's small airfield as golden afternoon light painted the valley. The CEO of Blackbridge Industries stepped onto the tarmac wearing an expertly tailored suit that cost more than most local farms earned in a year. Quite the operation you've built here, he observed. Studying the town with calculating eyes, genuine community defense, pure grassroots organization. Do you know how valuable that brand could be? Sarah met him at the airfield alone, noting the subtle signs of his own military background. Our community isn't for sale. Everything's for sale. Sarah, the question is, price white? All smiled professionally. Your former commanding officers speak very highly of your tactical abilities downtown. Danny observed corporate ad van teams conducting market res SE Arch. They're interviewing people about community empowerment products, trying to package our methods into training modules. Stock markets responding. Already. Martha reported through secure channels. Blackbridge's new community defense division is attracting major investors. They're selling the idea before they even own it. White all toured Fox Hollow like a realtor assessing prime property. Think bigger than just this town. We could franchise your model globally, turn genuine resistance into a profitable enterprise while maintaining corporate control. Sarah noted. Coldly, control is such an ugly word. We prefer quality assurance. He gestured at the rebuilt town. You've proven communities can defend themselves. We want to help scale that success. Lily's network intercepted corporate marketing plans, sleek brochures promising authentic community empowerment through branded training programs, the commercialization of genuine independence. They're already selling franchise licenses. Dr. Kate warned other towns, buying the right to implement approved versions of our methods. Shadow studied Blackbridge's business model with growing concern. They're not just selling security anymore. They're commodifying the very idea of resistance. Tom's veterans faced recruitment offers from Blackbridge's new division corporate positions, promising to spread Fox Hollow's success while quietly ensuring remained within profitable bounds. The beauty of it. Whitehall explained during lunch at the diner is that we're giving people exactly what they want. The feeling of independence without the messy reality of actual autonomy. Sarah watched corporate analysts measuring their town's defensive capabilities, calculating how to transform hard-won knowledge into marketable products. Your methods work because they're real. Whitehall continued, born from genuine need in an actual conflict that authenticity is worth billions to the right investors. But he'd miscalculated the true source of Fox Hollow's strength. The town council meeting that evening demonstrated why their methods couldn't be packaged and sold. They want to turn our story into their marketing campaign. Martha explained to gathered residents, sell other communities a corporate version of what we built. Ourselves, corporate lawyers, presented contracts promising local autonomy while establishing subtle corporate oversight. Golden handcuffs disguised as partnership opportunities. Think of your children's future. Whitehall urged college funds, trust, accounts, generational wealth, all for simply sharing what you've already built. The moment of decision crystallized around a simple truth. Genuine. Independence can't be marketed or sold. It has to be earned through shared struggle and collective growth. Your offer is generous, Sarah told Whitehall as sunset pain into the valley. But you're trying to purchase something that can't be bought. Everything has a price, he insisted. Name yours. That's why you'll never understand what we've built here. Sarah gestured at neighbors helping neighbors reformed. Raiders, working alongside former victims. Real community strength. Can't be franchised. Whitehall's corporate mask cracked slightly. Don't be naive. You're turning down billions in potential revenue, the chance to influence global SEC security. Markets. No, Sarah corrected. We're preserving something more valuable. Genuine independence, the kind that can't be packaged or sold. The corporate jets departed carrying rejected contracts and frustrated executives, but Sarah knew this wasn't the end. Blackbridge would find other communities willing to trade independence for investment. They'll keep trying. Shadow warned, find ways to profit from resistance movements worldwide. Let them try, said, replied. Real strength will always prove. more powerful than corporate imitations, because the truth that Whitehall and his investors couldn't grasp was simple, genuine. Community power grows from shared struggle and collective effort. It can't be manufactured, marketed, or sold. Fox Hollow had faced its greatest test, yet resisting, not just physical force, but the seductive promise of corporate wealth and legitimacy. Their choice would inspire other communities to reject packaged solutions in favor of earned independence. The battle for genuine freedom would continue, but with a deeper understanding, true strength isn't found in corporate boardrooms or marketing campaigns. It grows in communities that choose authentic independence over profitable imitation. 1 year after rejecting Blackbridge's offer, Fox Hollow stood transformed not into a corporate franchise or packaged security product, but something far more meaningful. A blueprint for genuine community independence. Morning sunlight streamed through the windows of their new community center as Sarah reviewed reports from towns worldwide, not corporate lenses or branded franchises, but independent communities that had found their own paths to strength. 6 more corporate security firms went bankrupt this quarter. Martha announced their whole business models collapsing. Communities are choosing independence over packaged protection. Shadow studied market reports showing the shifting landscape. Blackbridge's stock hit another record low. Whitehall resigned under shareholder pressure. The age of corporate security monopolies is ending. Danny entered with fresh intelligence. Those corporate training centers they built communities are turning them into independent defense schools, teaching each other instead of buying programs. The transformation went deeper than just security. Towns that had rejected corporate packages discovered their own ways to build strength, each unique to their local needs and culture. That's what Whitehall never understood. Dr. Kate observed genuine community power can't be standardized or mass-produced. It has to grow naturally. Lilly coordinated with their expanded network now, reaching across continents. Not a corporate hierarchy, but a free exchange of knowledge between independent communities. The corporate consultants called it inefficient. She reported with satisfaction, said, "We needed centralized control and standardized methods. They never understood that diversity makes us stronger." Tom's Veterans Program had evolved beyond anything corporate packages could offer. Former Raiders now trained alongside community defenders, each group learning from the other's experience. Blackbridge tried copying our methods. Tom explained to visiting town representatives, but they couldn't replicate the most important element, genuine trust between people. Sarah walked Fox Hollow streets, seeing how far they'd come. Gardens flourished, where defensive positions once stood. Children played freely, where surveillance posts had been necessary. We've had 3 more takeover attempts. Martha reported different corporations trying to buy or control our methods. No one understands why we keep refusing the answer, laying the scene before them. Neighbors chatting on porches, former enemies working side by side, children learning both safety and compassion, a community that had grown stronger through shared struggle rather than purchased solutions. There's a new bill in Congress, Shadow noted, trying to regulate independent community defense programs. Corporate lobbyists claim were a threat to public safety. But political pressure couldn't stop what Fox Hollow had started. Communities worldwide were discovering their own strength, refusing packaged security in favor of earned independence. The corporations keep asking what our secret is. Dr. Kate said, "They've studied our methods, copied our training, but they can't replicate our results because the real secret wasn't in tactics or techniques. It was in the connections forged through shared struggle, the trust built between former enemies, the strength that grows only through genuine community effort." Sarah gathered her people for a final decision after a year of proving their model worked. It was time to step into a larger role, not as corporate trainers or packaged experts, but as living proof that communities could find their own paths to strength. Other towns keep asking us to share our formula, she told the gathered crowd. But that would defeat the purpose. Real independence can't be taught through programs or packages. It has to be discovered, Lily added, each community finding its own way while supporting each other. Danny finished The sun set over Fox Hollow as Sarah looked toward the future. They had shown that genuine community strength couldn't be bought, sold, or packaged. It had to be earned through collective effort and shared purpose. The corporate security industry had tried to commodify resistance to turn genuine independence into a marketable product. Instead, they had sparked something they couldn't control. Communities, worldwide, discovering their own power. Sarah watched children playing freely in the evening light, former enemies sharing meals as friends. Neighbors helping neighbors build something stronger than any corporate package could provide, because the most important lesson wasn't about tactics or techniques. It was about the power of genuine community, the kind that grows through shared struggle and collective purpose, rather than purchase solutions. Fox Hollow had become more than just a defended town or a model for others to copy. It was living proof that true strength grows from the ground up, nurtured by genuine connection, ACS, and common purpose. As darkness fell, Sarah looked out over the valley that had seen so much change. They had faced every kind of attack, physical, financial, political. But their greatest victory wasn't in defeating enemies. It was in showing that real community power can't be packaged or sold. It has to be earned day by day through the collective effort of people choosing to stand together. That truth would outlast any corporate empire or political pressure, because genuine strength, once discovered, can never be controlled or commodified. It can only be shared, growing stronger as more communities find their own paths to true independence. Up next, 2 more incredible stories are waiting for you right on your screen. If you enjoyed this one, you won't want to miss these. Just click to watch and don't forget to subscribe. It would mean a lot.